Whew, okay. Last month, my freelance business brought in $7,000 of profit directly to my bank account. And so in this video, I wanted to break down the following things: how I landed each client and things I wish I knew back then, knowing what I know now. And if you haven't met yet, my name is Alif. I'm a freelance email marketer here in Toronto, and I operate a full-time freelance marketing business. I've worked with solopreneurs, coaches, software clients, and more. And so I thought in this video I'd share some insights. Now, quick disclaimer, I know when you go on YouTube, you see a lot of videos, especially around like how I made $10,000 a month, right? That 10K month number is like the most popular thing on YouTube. And so this video isn't like the typical how I made 10K a month video that you'd see on YouTube everywhere. Those videos are very, very popular. But yeah, it's not that. And if you are making 10K a month, then maybe this video isn't for you because you already know the stuff, right? However, what I feel like is unique about this video and why I really wanted to make this video is because I feel like at the 7K mark, I'm not too far from the beginning, so I can still empathize for people who are struggling to start off and make the first 5,000. I can still empathize with folks over there, but I've also learned enough to understand what are the different milestones you need to hit to get to this point that I'm at right now if you are just starting off. At the same time, I'm not too far ahead where I forget what it's like when I was just starting off, right? So it puts me in a very unique position. And for those just starting your business, starting your freelance marketing business, or maybe you're trying to make your first $5,000 a month, this video is specifically for you. So when I made $7,000 last month, I was working with 3 clients. One is a software company that helps job seekers land jobs. The other is a marketing agency, and they help software businesses, and basically for the agency, I was subcontracting under them. And third is a coding bootcamp that teaches tech skills to people who are thinking about transitioning into tech. So collectively, those 3 clients brought in the $7,000. And they're on retainer, so they pay me every month. So this month, I'm recording this in July, I'm expecting about the same amount of income, if not a little more. So let me break down to you how I land each client. That way, you can take the lessons from them and apply it to yourself if you are struggling to land clients right now. So that bootcamp that teaches tech skills, how did I land them? Well, you see, I'm part of an email marketing Slack group, and one of the channels in the Slack group are about freelance gigs, and people who are hiring freelancers would post their gigs there. And so the client, they made a post on that group, and I was like, hey, I'm interested in your gig. And they're like, cool, I'm also speaking to a bunch of other people too, so it may take some time. And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Truth be told, I didn't expect I'd land this client, but the entire process from the initial Slack message to the contract being signed, it took about I would say 2 to 3 weeks and a lot of follow-up from my end. So it was they made the post, I reached out, they're like, great, send me your stuff. So I sent my portfolio, my LinkedIn, and any past work stuff that I feel would be relevant for that client. And then I didn't hear from them for a week or so. And then they ping me back and they're like, hey, we went through all these people, but it doesn't seem like none of them are a good fit. Do you have experience with HubSpot and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, great, awesome. Well, you want to jump on a quick call? And I'm like, yeah, sure. We get in the call, I tell them a little bit about what's on my plate, what my expertise is, how I can help them with HubSpot automations, understand more about what they want, and we found that it was a good fit. And then so we ended the call and they're like, I'll get back to you. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And so I would follow up with them, hey, how's things going? Oh yeah, just getting caught up right now with the recruiting process, blah, 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 whatever. And next week, hey, just sorry, got caught up with the recruiting process, again, delay. Eventually they're like, no more pushing this away, Alif, we want you, and let's sign an agreement. And so we signed and land the client. So the entire process took a while, and it all came from a Slack group. So how do I land client number 2? So this client is a software business, but the founders are influencers on LinkedIn. And I post a lot of content on LinkedIn. I leave thoughtful comments on influencers' posts on LinkedIn, and I network with a lot of people on LinkedIn. So gradually, there's a very specific influencer that I'd follow, and I'd always leave thoughtful comments on their posts. And on top of that, I'd always post about marketing stuff on LinkedIn. And on my LinkedIn profile, I had email marketing something on my headline and my bio and all the stuff. And so naturally, I'm branded as an email marketer. Then one day I'm chilling and doing my work and I get a message from that influencer. And I was like, oh shoot. And he's like, hey, we need some email help. Alif, I know you've been like commenting on my stuff and I see you're in my radar. Can you help us with some of this email stuff we're working on? And I was like, yeah, sure. So he connected me with his marketing manager. I sent the marketing manager my portfolio before the call so then I can be sold on before the call, you know? And so then we get on the call and I was like, do you have any questions for me? And then we had some like admin questions like how many hours and like what's your workflow right now? Do you have experience with this? But overall, they were generally already sold on me because I sent the portfolio to the marketing manager before the call. And the marketing manager liked what we were about and we ended up signing an agreement. The entire process, again, took a few weeks because, so even that initial message from the influencer, I had to follow up like 5-6 times just to like get him to reply back to me. And finally, we made this happen. So follow-up is key. And the marketing agency that I'm subcontracting under, I landed them through a referral. So I go to in-person events, and specifically my friend Ryan, he hosts these events. And so I made good friends with Ryan. We got coffee, we hang out, we DM each other here and there. And eventually he pinged me and he's like, Alif, I got a potential lead for you. What's your email? We get connected via email, the client and the client loved what I was about because it's exactly what she was looking for, specifically in this case, HubSpot marketing automation for software businesses. And if you go on my website, I'm branded all over the website with that kind of terminology. So she was like, yes, I like you and I want you. So what is the key takeaway here? Follow up, follow up, follow up. Always be networking and make sure you're alive on the internet by posting content. I want to share with you some lessons I know now that I really wish I knew when I was just starting off. Number one, man, you're gonna hate when I say this. I'm telling you, you're gonna hate when I say this. But this is so true more now than ever for me. Like, it really hit me. All right, are you ready for it? Patience is key. I know. But let me explain. When I first started off in this whole business world and everything, I'd always watch these influencers on YouTube. And it'd always be like, this 20-year-old made $100,000 and this person who made 500 grand and these crazy big claims and they made it in like a year or two or maybe even a couple months, or I started a software side hustle and it's already making me $7,000. And they would get all these big, huge, immediate results in like a fraction of the time and literally like in this impossibly small condensed time, right? And so I'll see these things and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I want to be like them. I want to be like them. I want to be like them. But what I realized it was doing to me was that it kept telling me that I'm not enough. Because if you think about it, like in my head, I'm like, great, if I want to be like them, I need to get all this success like right now. Like if it's not happening right now, then I'm a failure. Like it needs to happen right now. And so every day that would go by, every couple of weeks or so, and I feel like I didn't make progress, or at least made like $10,000 in that week alone. If I didn't do that, I always felt like I was being so hard on myself, being like, wow, all these people are getting all the success in this short amount of time, and I'm not. What the heck? But it's interesting because now that I zoom back, right, I am where I am right now, and obviously I have a long way to go, but I am where I am right now. And when I think back, I realize growing a business is the accumulation of taking small needle-moving actions every day that compound over time. You see, I am at the 7K mark because I learned this little thing 3 years ago, and then that helped me learn that little thing, and that little thing, and that little thing, and that little thing, boom, 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 boom. Everything, all that collective learning experiences bunched up so that now when a client goes on a call with me, I know what to say. I know how to position myself. I know how to do a sales call. I know how to like price myself. I know how to like ask good questions so I really understand the pain that they're going in. Like I know all this stuff because of all those accumulated small needle moving things I had to learn and overcome and do to help me become the person I am right now to attract this level of money. All right, so here's another thing I wish I knew. There's different stages you go through. Let me explain these stages. So stage one is like you're making your first $100 on your own without a job. And oftentimes during this stage, it's all about overcoming your limiting beliefs. And when I say overcoming limiting beliefs, I mean like being comfortable with walking up to someone and being like, hey, I will do this, and in exchange, will you give me $100? Like, will you give me $100? Like saying that like took a lot out of me when I first started. I was like, oh my God, like that's a lot of money. Am I even worth it? You know, what if I just lower it down to like 20? I mean, I think that's fine, you know, blah, 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 right? And so that was a limiting belief I had to literally get over, because then how am I gonna make a full-time income? I remember my first business was like a resume writing service, and I would write resumes for people. And I remember charging like $20 a resume. I was helping this high school kid and I charged $20 for a resume. And I was like, oh my God, I made $20. Wow. And then, you know, as I was writing the resume, it took me like maybe 3-4 hours. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting paid less than a McDonald's employee. What? And it didn't make sense. And eventually I had to like charge more over time. But again, I had to get over the limiting belief, like, oh, the skill set and the service I'm offering is only worth $20. All right, next stage is like the first $1,000 mark. And oftentimes this stage involves building self-belief. I remember when I made my first $1,000, I was like, oh wait, wow, $1,000, like that's a lot of money. Like that's a lot. And I did it without a job, with my own two hands. And if I repeat what I just did 5 times, that's $5,000. That's a full-time income. Oh, is this possible? Can I actually do this? And I started like leaning into that more. And then my belief system started changing, because before that, it used to be like, oh, it's just a side hustler. I'm a side hustler. My identity was like side hustler, side hustler. This will never, and because I kept thinking I was a side hustler, I didn't think bigger. And because I didn't think bigger, I always trapped myself as a side hustler. So I'd always do cheap work all the time. But then when I did the $1,000 thing, made $1,000, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not what I thought I was. Maybe I'm meant for more. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, you're gonna love my free mini course down below in the description of this video, how to make your first $5,000. Check it out down below in the description of this video. Back to the video. And then comes the $5,000 mark. I remember, oh, my first $5,000. So I remember during COVID, I was working a job. I was working in marketing for a software company. And I got let go. I was like, God damn it, being let go again? What the hell? And so I was like, screw this, because I was looking mad. I was like a mad person. And I was like, I'm going to do it on my own and prove my ex-boss wrong. Screw them. And so I felt like I had something to prove. And so at this point, I've made $1,000 before. And I'm like, okay, what I really need to do is just do what I did 5 times. I mean, like, yeah, right? I remember the one time, like, I was pacing back and forth in my room, and I was thinking about all these ways I'm gonna land clients. So workshops, cold DMs, talk to this friend, start a podcast, all these things. Putting it on, like, a wallpaper, and then looking back at myself and thinking, wait a minute, what's one thing, needle-moving thing I can do that'll just crush everything here? Like, what's one thing I can do that'll just land me a client tomorrow? Instead of just doing a podcast, reaching out, hoping for the podcast to be scheduled, what's one thing I can do? And it came to cold outreach, like literally cold message people in your network, asking them first if they want to buy your service. Like, that's it. And I was like, oh, shoot, I've cold DM. Oh my God, this is actually what I have to do. And so I was pacing back and forth in my room like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Can I do this? I had an epiphany, and I realized, like, wait a minute, I'm so paralyzed right now. If I let this paralyzed feeling take over me and I give up and I go back to bed and go to sleep, I'm not making my income. I have no source of income. Like, I have no time to be paralyzed. And so I just sucked it up. I just sent a bunch of cold messages out to all my network, and I started landing one client after another, who then referred me to another client, who then I got another client with, and I got another client, and boom, 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 first $5,000 that month. It felt like the Matrix. You know the movie Matrix, and you see the green glow? The green glowing letter number thingies? I felt like I started seeing the Matrix. It was so weird. I remember, I think I closed a client for coaching, and it was just 4 calls for an hour each, 4 hours. And I charged him like $1,000, which is crazy when I think about it now, which I feel like it's very low, but back then it was a lot. So $1,000, and I was like, wow, for 4 hours of work just to talk to someone, I'm getting paid $1,000. And then later that day, I remember going in the elevator, and there was a cleaning lady that came in with all her like cleaning supplies, and we were in the elevator together, and we're going down the elevator, and we're just quiet, and I couldn't help but think, like, wow, I made maybe what you make in 2 weeks in 4 hours. And it just really shattered my conception of capitalism and how money is made and how it gets moved around people. And I'm like, whoa, like it's not about time for money, it's about value for money. He's paying that much to me, and he was comfortable with paying that much to me because he knows I have a certain amount of expertise that if I teach him will help his business and do his marketing better. He's paying for the expertise. Because of the expertise, I can charge more than this lady who's cleaning houses, like cleaning apartments. Like, wow. And I remember going to like a grocery store with my mom, and I was going by like the meat cutting section, and I looked over and there's a guy from like Pakistan or something. He's just cutting meat. And I'm like, oh, like I made more in 4 hours than you make in a week. Like, why is that? It's because I have skills and expertise that I can monetize. Again, the Matrix, like, oh my God, I see the Matrix, holy shit, everything's breaking apart. And it really opened my eyes, like, oh, this is how money is made. This is how the rich people who start these companies, this is how they think, but to a bigger extent. Yeah, it was just crazy. I still remember that feeling. It was really cool. Which leads me to stage number 4. You make your first 5,000, and maybe that was like a rush to get there, and you're just doing anything and everything, going all in, just it's chaotic and all that. The next stage is about formalizing your actual service. You see, when I made my first 5,000, I was offering a lot of different marketing things. I was offering podcasts, videos, blogs, emails, social media. And after a couple of months of doing that, maybe like 4 or 5 months, I took a step back and I was like, ugh, if another client comes to me for a podcast, I don't know if I can do it. Because I started realizing that editing podcasts, sure, it makes me money, but like listening to someone's audio who's monotone for like an hour and cutting out all the ums and all these weird blank spots in the audio file, like it's so tedious and monotonous. Even like editing videos for clients, like this is fun. Like I can edit videos like this all the time. But doing it for a client, a talking head video like this for a client, it felt so tedious. And don't even get me started on social media. That never ends. They want more and more and more and more. Like, holy crap. And so I really had to like think back, step back and be like, what do I like? And I realized email is what I like. I love writing a nice crisp email with all these copywriting conversion formulas applied to it to get the person to click that button. There's something about that psychology of persuasion that I love so much. And so it made sense that I specialize in email. And on top of that, the advice I kept getting was, hey, specialize, you gotta specialize. And this leads me to stage number 5. Is it 5? Yeah, whatever. It's stage number 5. And that's the part I'm currently on, is that getting help. Like outsourcing the work, trusting other people to do the work so you can build something better. This is my next level of growth. I'm part of a bunch of coaching programs to help me figure this out and everything. All these different, I want to share something important. Yes, I went through all these different stages, right? But I wouldn't have gone through all these different stages if I didn't prioritize the following: learning and doing uncomfortable things. To go from 1,000 to 5,000, I had to learn, get comfortable with pitching to people, saying a bigger number on the sales call when they asked me how much, right? I had to get uncomfortable. I had to learn how to position myself in a sales call. I had to learn how to like offer a service that's worth $1,000, right? I had to learn and grow. And because I was so driven to learn and grow, that's essentially the fuel that got me through the different stages. If I didn't have that, then I'd probably be stuck at stage number 1. You know, I spent like a lot of money on like coaching programs and learning more things. And every time I take a program like that and I learn something new, I apply it, I always grow because I just want to grow so much. And I want to leave with you one last thing that I wish I knew back then. And that is, this is not as glamorous as it looks. Like I feel like on the internet, a lot of people talk about freelance marketing and all these things, and you're like traveling the world and on a hammock and you're in Bali and you're doing these things and you don't have to report to anyone and you can just live your life, go to parties and you work remotely, like this like crazy hyped up thing. But honestly speaking, if you just follow me around every day, like I'm a laptop working with a bunch of clients, and then I go to the gym and I repeat and I repeat and I repeat. Now, don't get me wrong, I still do travel a lot, I experience life, and I do really fun things, and I'm really grateful for the flexibility and the remote nature of the work I do, because it does allow me to do a lot and I have a lot of fun. But on like a regular Tuesday, it's just me and my computer doing client work, and that's it, right? Like it's not as glamorous as I feel like social media and the internet is making it out to be. So if you're like trying to get in freelance and you're only doing it to like live in Bali and just drink all day, Like if that's your number one reason to start a freelance business, yeah, no, that's not gonna work because eventually you'll be like, oh, it's too hard and you give up. But you wanna grow and become a different person and just achieve, then yes, this is the path for you. But even with all these like the monotonous of just running a freelance business and everything, and though it's not glamorous, I gotta be honest with you, like it is totally worth it. The ability to just travel wherever I want, whenever I want, without having to report to a manager and being like, I have 3 more PTO days, can you give me an extra 2? Like, you don't have to do any of that. You just be like, you don't even tell the client. I was in like working from Costa Rica, and then we just had a normal conversation between the client and I, and she didn't even know I was in Costa Rica. Like, also, if you love the idea of just building a portfolio and just like opening up and seeing all these client logos and like thinking yourself like, hell fucking yeah, like I did that. I worked with all these clients, and being proud of yourself because you have these cool logos in your portfolio. Like, yeah, like that feeling is magical. And of course, if you love the idea of growing, becoming a different person, stepping outside your comfort zone, and clients pinging you and being like you're the expert, can you help us with this? And being seen as an expert and just like evolving and doing new things and learning about different industries and becoming valuable to the point where people give you money just to like hear you speak about things and your work you do, like, yeah, like I guess I can sum it up like this. Like, if you want to pursue a path where you can be proud of yourself, knowing that you're doing the hard work and you're growing into a better, confident, stronger, more disciplined version of yourself, and that fuels you, then this path is definitely